Good morning. Today is it's like April 25th. It's a Tuesday. It's early in the morning. Well, not too early. It's about 9. Usually my early mornings are 5 in the morning. I guess, I just want to say this to somebody that may need to hear it, and I'll say it like this. There are times that we have, those of you that know me and seen some of my videos, and you see me gallivanting around in my Escalade, one of my Escalades, or my Fleetwood, or my car, and some people, this may not be you, of course, some people that were in my shoes back in the day, like, that dude got it made. Now I have my own truck. My own truck. This is my second truck, actually, and it's by the blessing of a man that helped me out. And I would say he used to be my boss, but in a way he still is my boss, because even though I may have my own truck and all my own this, that, and the other, I still haul under their authority. And by the blessing of God, that person was put in my life. And I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am for that. That's just because there's so many mornings that I woke up, and well, let me back up. So just the blessing of being able to get in one of my vehicles, and my vehicles are not new, they're older vehicles. They got candy paint on them, and they're Vogued up with Vogue tires, and for those of you that don't know what Vogue tires are, some of the best tires you can buy, and if they were in the fashion world, they'd be the Versace of tires, at least in my opinion. And it's something that I grew up in, the atmosphere and the culture that I grew up in, that it was just a dream that a young man would always want that particular deal. It's just the way I grew up. I usually grew up around the hood, and every one of my friends are somebody from the hood, and that's just a culture that you just kind of align yourself with as you come up, and it's part of your blood and part of your bloodline from here on out. So you could say candy paint, Chevys, Cadillacs, Vogues, Trues. Some of y'all call them the new version of them, the Swingers, the Continental kits, the Cadillac grills on the front, the noses, the flying ladies, the diamonds in the back, the ostrich and gator interior and roof, or all that shit. I could go back as far as, the visors you see on these semis. We used to put them, they had visors that we put on cars, like on Fleetwoods and Buicks and shit. Buick Park Avenues and things. When you couldn't afford Vogues, you had quarters, quarter white wall tires, and I'm on my hands and knees every day with the toothbrush and the SOS pad, cleaning my Vogues and my white walls and making sure that they stood out, and Armor All in my tires, and waxing my paint. And it was what I like to do every day when I could do it. But what about when in the beginning I couldn't do it, and I watched other people do it? I thought they were so fucking lucky. I thought that they had everything. It put a smile on my face even. Some people I knew, it put a frown on their face. They found something negative to say about that individual. And I can honestly, in front of God, say that it put a smile on my face every time I seen a man with that setup, or had those things going for him. It was good to see somebody was enjoying life. There were times I was in and out of the pawn shops all the time, just trying to get milk and bread, literally milk and bread, macaronis, noodles, ramen noodles, whatever I could get enough money to get. And I have worked so hard. I'm almost 50 years old now, and I've worked so hard to get myself from that. And some of the things I did were wrong. Some of the things I did, I said when the right thing came along, that I wouldn't ignore it, even if it meant me losing a few dollars. And I didn't. I stayed true to myself and my word and God. I did what I was supposed to do. And I don't want to bring God up in everything, because I don't need to tell you that I owe him everything. But I don't want somebody to think that I'm trying to get off on a preaching ceremony here or something like that. I'm just telling it like it is. And I try to keep that to a minimum, because I know some people, you've heard it so many times. I don't think the people that have came from where I come from and are where they are today, they know this. They know what I'm saying. So what I will say is that sometimes bad things happen. Like, you know, I got my truck. I got Vogue tires on every vehicle, candy paint, every accessory that you could think to put in a vehicle. I done got it, and all the materialistic things. And maybe I come up materialistic because I didn't have nothing when I was a kid. I never had nothing as a young adult, you know. And I'm working on not being so materialistic. But what I will say is this, is that sometimes, and here just, I'll be honest, here about 2-3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago, it's closer to maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I'm sorry. You know, I put another gold tooth in my mouth and I filled it full of diamonds. You know, I said VVS diamonds in there. It's the best, some of the best diamonds you can get. You know, I got 52 of them in this tooth. And, you know, this is another goal that I set for myself as a young man growing up. That's another cultural thing that I've always liked way before it came out in rap music. Because those of y'all that know me know that I've had gold teeth in my mouth since the early 90s, you know, and when it wasn't so popular, even up here in Kansas especially. So what I will say is this, is that there's no doubt that I owe everything to God first. And then all of my recent success, I owe it to a guy named Lou who sold me my house. He sold me 2 trucks. He didn't give a fuck about my credit. The dude's probably a millionaire at the minimum, and take time to have conversations with me every day, talk to me about stuff as if I was his equal in a way. And that has got to be some freak of a blessing from God as well, because ain't nobody paid me no attention. I mean, look at my face. I'm covered in tattoos, gold teeth in my mouth. Sometimes I go off on people and do things to people that I regret personally myself later. But at the end of the day, I make those mistakes. And no matter what, that dude has gave me every opportunity, and I've paid him back of loans he's loaned me. I've taken care of my business with that man before anybody, before the fucking bank. So at the end of the day, those are blessings that were put in my life. And even though I'm enjoying things like this new truck I got, $90,000 truck, glider kit engine in it. It's a Western Star 2016. Engine's got barely now 300,000 miles, and I put 100,000 miles of those on here myself this year. So what I will say is that, you know, people see me in this truck with the lights all lit up on it and the sound system in it, whatever I done to it. And they just think that, you know, some people may think that I got a silver spoon in my mouth and I think that I'm all that. And that's, you just do not know how humble I am and how grateful I am. And sometimes that's probably why I put these videos out. But the real reason I put these videos out are to the other people, I guess you could say I'm reaching back and talking to me 20 years ago. You know, I'm reaching back to me 20 years ago and saying, hey, you know where I'm from, so you know where I've been through, and it may be what you're going through right now. And what I'll say is this, is that it don't matter. You got to get up tomorrow. You got to get up. You got to push forward, and you got to keep going, because you're going to get here where I'm at, and probably beyond. You know, a lot of people got gifts. They'll go beyond where I'm at. But if you don't get up tomorrow and do everything you can and stop thinking about giving up and get the fuck up and push, you don't know what's on the next door. It could be the very next door is the end of your struggle. But if you don't open it and push yourself through it, you're not going to know. And what the fuck else are you doing? I mean, what else do you got to do anyway but to do that? You know, I battled depression. I battled, you know, some bipolar symptoms. I battle intermittent explosive disorder. I battle some things like that all the time. You know, I'm battling that stuff. But I push through it. I'm not going to kill my family. I'm not going to kill some innocent motherfucker, even though some motherfuckers will really test you. I'm not going to do none of that. I'm going to live as righteous as I can to the last day. And I'm going to do everything I can right. And with all that said, that may be reason I have enjoyed the success that I have had and the blessing of meeting Lou and doing what I got to do. So what I say is this. You get up every day like your blessing is around the corner, because in a lot of people's minds, it is. As soon as you get through watching this video, 4 hours later, when you get up and start pushing down the road, your blessing may pop out in front of you. You may never think about me or this video ever again. You may forget where you come from. But there may come a time when things go downhill. And I'll give you an example. Right now, things are going downhill for me. They've been going down for me since Thanksgiving of this year. And this is, oh, that's my generator just started. This is the end of April. I had 2 or 3 breakdowns back to back. It hit me, bam, 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 bam. Then the fuel costs went up because of the war in Ukraine with Russia. Fuel costs went from me filling up $450, $500 tanks of fuel, because I got 250-gallon tanks. So every time I fill up, every other day or so, it's about $450, $500. It went from that to I filled up yesterday for $948. $948. So my fuel is coming out of my money now, and it's hit my check really hard. So my checks have went from, after I pay all of my bills, I was taking home. Well, before my bills, I was probably getting $7,000, $8,000 checks every couple of weeks. By the time I get through paying my bills, I might be taking home $2,200, $2,300 every 2 weeks. To me, that's a lot of money. To some people, that ain't shit. But, so my income for the month went from $5,000 to literally this last few months, I probably made $1,300, $1,000 for the month. For the month. And there was a couple of pay periods there every 2 weeks that when I was getting my settlements, I wasn't getting nothing. Or there was one this last few weeks that I was upside down. So that means I owed the company that I'm hauling loads for $328. So not only did I not get a paycheck, but I owed them. So the next paycheck that comes, I got to give them their $328 off the top, pay all my bills with them, and then whatever I took home, which by the blessing of God was $1,200, which is, you know. So my dog got cancer on his foot, and it cost me like $1,200. So I had to go get a Speedy Cash and get a loan. Then he had to have another treatment, and it cost another $700 and something. And thankfully the vet worked with me a little bit and let me make 2 installments, but I still had to do that. Then I've had to borrow. Once you get one of the Speedy Cash loans, it's easy to ask him to put an extra $1,800 on there, $1,000 on there, so you can catch the bills up. So I got all the bills caught up to where they're acceptable, but I owe Speedy Cash $4,000 or $5,000. Then somebody runs into the car that Speedy Cash has got the loan with, and it's in the shop getting fixed. Then I just got one thing after the other that just kept hitting me and hit me and hit me and hit me. Next thing you know, I had to borrow some money from my boss. Hey man, loan me, $1,000. And here's a guy I hate to ask to borrow anything from because of all the blessings he's done provided me with in the past. And that's one person I don't ever want to let down, other than God and my wife, is the guy that believed in me the most. That's the people you don't let down. So with that being said, I had to get up every morning and remind myself where I was 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, when I was living in a motel, trying to come up with the next day's motel money. And when you've been to the very bottom, you prepare to go back down. It's not like some of these rich people that have never seen the bottom, not alone been there, and when they go there, they kill their family, they kill themselves, whatever. When you come from that, that's what makes you a stronger person. Some people, it makes them an evil person, because now they'll take anybody's life, do whatever the fuck they got to do to get back what they had. And by the grace of God, and always believing in Him, no matter what I go through. I may lose my wife tomorrow and my child. I still am never going to lose that faith, because I've had too many things happen that I've prayed and asked for that have been fulfilled. And it's not when I wanted it to be done. It's when at the very last moment, a lot of cases, right before I was about to fall completely face down, the miracle or the blessing came. And with me, that happened a lot. And I don't know if He was testing my faith to the very end. It's like somebody saying, hey man, you better come up with $300 or I'm gonna pull the trigger on this dude. And you got 5 minutes. In the last 10 seconds, all of a sudden $300 just falls out of nowhere. And that's the way it's always been with me for the most part. But nevertheless, it happened. So what I would say is, get up every day, do what the fuck you got to do, as if the blessing is there. Because 98% of the time it will be. And if it's not, at least you did all the right things you were supposed to do. You can hold your head up and you can tell anybody who questions you that you did everything as righteous as you possibly could and you couldn't. Best of all, you can tell yourself that. You know, yes, right now, things ain't been looking really good for me. But I get the fuck up every day and put a smile on my face. And sometimes you may see me rolling down the street, Vogue's cleaned in a motherfucker, but pockets ain't got shit in them. But don't get too comfortable thinking that way, because a lot of people know that there's times you see me rolling down the road and I got, you know, and this sounds stupid to people that make way more money than I do, but I got $3,500 and all my bills are paid, and it's $4,000 sitting in my pocket. The one thing I hate is when I go to a place to purchase something or buy something or get a service and I get treated as if I don't have nothing. There's been times I've been known to spend my last dime on something to prove a point to somebody, and it was kind of foolish, but I needed to prove it, not just for myself, but for other people like me that these kind of people disrespect. So, with all that said, all I can say is that you need to get up every day and push forward until you literally drop on your face. That's what you have to do. You know, sitting around drinking and smoking weed and complaining is not going to fix a goddamn thing tomorrow. If anything, you just ran up another bill, another problem. You know, some of you on parole and probation. I know about that too. Now you got to worry about the risk of getting a dirty UA. And some of you think, well, I got that taken care of. I got somebody's piss in my pocket, so sooner or later they're going to catch on to that, and then you risking that, going back to prison. I get up every day with the blessing of God, and I do what the fuck I'm supposed to do. And today my problems may not be solved. My bills may not be paid. But there's another day that it'll take me to, and I'll get up every day until I get it taken care of. So, with all that said, you know, biggest thing I'll say is some people always ask me, or some people ask me, and especially my brothers used to ask me, he's like, why do you go back to the past? Why do you go back to where you used to live? Why do you go back to, if I'm driving an area where I did some time in the penitentiary, I will go 10 miles out of my way to circle that penitentiary to remind myself where I was, to look at the atmosphere I was once in, and to remind myself why I do what I do every day and how blessed I really am. Because if you can't tell, a guy can walk up to you and tell you, hey man, I'm on my way up. And as an example I like to use, this lady, she got with this guy because he had a Lamborghini. And he had a 5-bedroom house. And he has a small business. And, dresses good. So she got with him being thirsty and whatever. But what she didn't know is this guy used to have 3 or 4 Lamborghinis. He had a Bentley, a limo that took him around every day. He had a mansion before, an airplane, and he owned 4 or 5 businesses. What she didn't know is she was meeting this guy on his way down. He was actually coming down. He was on his way to failure. In her mind, because of where she stood in life and where she was getting, improving her situation. And if you get with somebody or fuck with somebody based on what that's going to do for you, then you don't know. You may be in for a ride. You may be you don't know. So you can't judge a person if you don't know where they was before and where they are now to determine the trajectory of which way they're headed. You may see somebody right now and think, oh man, he's all that. What he's thinking is, man, I'm losing everything. So my point being is that you have to, think about those things before you judge somebody on their possessions. They're either on their way up or they're on their way down. It's usually one of the two. It's never just steady. And me, I'm always trying to push my way up all the time my feet are going. Because the way I look at it, if I'm always going, then it's going to be hard for me to slide back down. And if I do, it's going to be very minimal. Because I'm always pushing forward. As long as you're pushing and not just standing still, it's going to be harder to push you to the bottom. So, with that said, don't be afraid to ever go back and visit where you were. I remember there were times that I've been gone Judge Waller's courtroom or Ballinger or one of those old judges back in the day in the county courthouse, and I would go in when they were handing out sentences. I didn't know when it was, but most of the time I was going in when it was handing out sentences, which is when I wanted to be there, because I remember me standing there in my orange jumpsuit and waiting to hear my sentence. And I tried not to ever sound like the other inmates begging and stuff, because especially if I did what I did, you know, and I would just be as straightforward as I could and say, you know, I don't even know what to say. I fucked up. You know, I can only accept whatever punishment you hand out, man. I mean, I put myself here. Nobody else did. So hopefully I get outside of that. And I've been blessed to be released from jail and prison, I don't know how many times, and fuck up and go back. You know, not intentionally, just the way things happen. So get up every day, especially if you got people counting on you. Focus on what it is you're trying to do, and just focus on today, what you can get done today. Stop worrying about the week and the month and the year. You know, you do that when you get momentum, when you get things going. You know, when you get your gears and you get the thing. It's like driving one of these semis. When you first take off, you can't be thinking about, you know, your range shifter here. You know, these are the lower gears and these are the upper gears, and these are your gear splitters that you split in the upper gears. You can't be thinking about splitting gear 10 or 9th and 10th gear when you ain't even got out of your low gears yet. You still trying to get the load moving down the road. You still trying to get your trailer and your payload going down the road before you can even think about the upper gears. You ain't even got out of second gear. So sometimes we got to think about, we're in first gear, we got to get to second gear. I'm not thinking about, well, when I get up to 8th gear, I'm going to do this. I'm not thinking about that yet. Now, when I start moving and things start going a little faster, then you start planning when you get in your upper gear. When you get up here, then you start planning, you know, if you're going to have to split gears, you're looking at the terrain, at the mountains, and, well, I don't have to split gears. I can just, you know, straight them all the way from here on out. And that's just the way life is. Think about tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And then, you know, when you got a chance to sit down and reflect, then see how you're doing, and then you can start planning some things. But sometimes we get to planning so far ahead, it gets a little depressing and a little overwhelming, and then you start, you know, feeling like you ain't never gonna be able to get it done. So, you know, I haven't made one of these videos in a while, and I was just feeling it this morning, and I'm gonna step out here and get a video of some of the scenery out here. See the river and the mountains here. I'm in Idaho in Hell's Canyon over here off of 95, just north of Boise. So I'm gonna make a separate video here.